So in your 2023 rookie drafts, you're trying to find steals.
Yes.
We're not going to give you guys in the first or the second round.
No.
How about the third and fourth round of your
Ooh.
drafts? Of course, we do super flex mostly here, so we're talking from a super flex perspective.
That's right.
We're going to give you 4 late round steals for your 2023 rookie drafts. Do us a favor, drop a like to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And I want you to comment down below, who's the biggest steal right now in drafts based off of ADP? Yes, it is pre-combine, but let us know who that is for you at this point.
Yeah.
Hey guys, sorry for this quick interruption. Just want to let you know that we recorded these videos on a huge recording day, and unfortunately at the end of a 3-hour session, we realized that Badake's audio was corrupted. So if the audio is not up to par with what we normally have, I'm sorry, or if he sounds weird or different, we're just trying our best here. Anyway, back to the video. Hope you still enjoy the content. All right, I'll go first. One of my favorite steals right now, and I guess you could call them sleepers.
Yeah.
Right, is Puka Nacua
Puka Nuka.
out of BYU. He is currently my wide receiver 10. Very intriguing wide receiver prospect. The profile, I can't wrap my head around fully just yet, but I'll tell you why I like this player. 4-star recruit out of high school. Originally went to Washington. Had a couple good games, but it really didn't work out. He transferred to BYU. I think the reason he transferred to BYU goes even deeper than just him wanting to get away from Washington. But he transfers to BYU before the 2021 season. Let's talk about the NFL bloodline. His brother Kai is a safety for the Jets, and his other brother Samson is a wide receiver who had a little stint with the Indianapolis Colts. Both brothers, by the way, played where? At BYU. So I think that is one of the reasons why he wanted to kind of follow in the family footsteps at BYU. In 2022, put up 48 receptions on 67 targets, 625 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So the stats aren't going to necessarily blow you away, but I think a lot of that has to do as well with the offensive identity of that team. Currently projected to be a 5th round pick in the NFL draft. I would not be surprised if he ends up going 4th or earlier.
Yeah. I hear you.
Probably not much earlier than early 4th, but this is a big body player, and there's not many receivers like that in this year's NFL draft. He is 6'2", 210. Now, this is pre-combine. That could change. But this is a big body, and there's not a lot of those guys in this year's class at the wide receiver position. Let's talk about some pros and cons. Pros, was a 9th rated wide receiver in college football this year, according to PFF. That's out of like 600 plus wide receivers. He was rated 9th. So pretty good grade for him. Top shelf A plus prime, best you can get, not best you can get, but really, really good ball skills. Very, very impressive ball skills.
Right.
Good contested catchability. There's something special there in that area of Puka's game. Top tier competitiveness, which you can't really quantify, but if it goes into a scouting report and anytime you research a player, people talk about his competitiveness, it's probably pretty damn competitive because people don't typically mention those type of qualities in a player that you can't quantify.
Right.
But everyone and their mother who is talking about Puka is talking about how damn competitive this kid is. He always wants to get better. He's humble and he is always improving. He's also an extreme athlete, just a freak of a human being. 6'2", 210 pounds. This dude is mossing people up and down the field. A lot of versatility as well at BYU. 36.6% of his snaps were in the slot. And then he played over 60% out wide. You like to see that kind of versatility heading into the NFL. And I think he's actually a really sneaky wide receiver after the catch. I think he has a little yak appeal to his game. In fact, this year he was 23rd of 244 wide receivers in yards after catch per reception. That's, minimum of 55 targets. So he did a lot more after the catch than what you would anticipate someone at 6'2", 210 would be doing. Football's in his blood, so that's also a pro. Couple cons, very limited route runner. And that's what really concerns me. Route running, separation, manipulation is one of the most important, I think, things, if not the most important thing when I look at a wide receiver prospect. So it has not shown adequate separation on film. The release package is really, really basic off the line of scrimmage, doesn't make those precise cuts. So you would hope that if he falls into the right coaching staff, that is something that he can improve. Not saying it will, but that is really the one area of his game that does not separate him from the rest of the class or puts him down a little bit. But when I look at a pro comp, when I put on his film, Badake and I actually watched him together. We watched this guy together.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were watching him, I said, after like a minute, I said, this guy looks like Alec Pierce.
Yeah, it was.
This guy looks a lot like Alec Pierce. I see a lot of comparisons to Alec Pierce. I'll give you a little Isaiah Hodgins action. I think he could be a wide receiver 2 for an NFL team. More likely a wide receiver 3. But again, there is that upside. We're trying to find steals in the draft. But I think he has very special upside, a very high floor because of the athlete he is, because of the speed, because of the body, the 6'2", 210, because of the competitiveness, because of the ball skills and contested catchability. I think there is a high upside with this player. Now, in rookie mock drafts, right now, he was going undrafted until we talked about him in our community. So it's hard to really say exactly what his ADP is. Right now, it's mid-4th. I think come draft time, he's probably going to be a late 3rd round pick, if not higher.
Yeah.
I don't know that he produces year 1. I'm not so sure that he's going to be some breakout year 1 rookie wide receiver. I think he needs time to improve his route running over the first year. But I think this is a special player. I like him on the Rams. I'm thinking Rams round 4, pick 137. Outside of Cooper Kupp, there really isn't much on this offense that you can build around for the future. And honestly, you could say Cooper Kupp's in that category as well. I mean, he's great, he's elite, but he's getting older. So Puka falls into a situation where he has a fantastic coaching staff all around him. And one of his biggest weaknesses is the biggest superstars on the team's strength, which is Cooper Kupp, his route running ability. So you get to sit back and watch one of the best route runners in the NFL and learn from his game. So I could see him being one of these players who develops into a very, very good wide receiver over the first couple years. Other teams I could see him with the Browns, the Jets, the Titans, Ravens, but I really want him to be on a team with a very good, well-known route runner so he can kind of improve that part of his game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Puka should be on your radar, and that's why I'm bringing him to you today.
Yeah, I like Puka Nuka. Very, very interesting prospect. So let's see what happens. I'm really interested to see how he's going to perform in the NFL Combine as well. I think that's going to be can skyrocket him because he had a lot of talk in the Senior Bowl. So
yeah,
I think they're going to keep an extra eye out on him there.
I think so too.
All right, my first steal is a tight end. Guy that I like when I scouted him, and that's Sam Laporta out of Iowa State, 3-star recruit. Currently my tight end 4. 6'4", 249 pounds, 22 years old. He is something special, okay? Once again, Iowa State. I think we know the history and the background of these Iowa State tight ends. Iowa. Sorry, I'm really bad. Iowa State tight ends. Iowa tight ends. Iowa tight ends, not Iowa State. Iowa tight ends. I mean, I can go down the list of all these guys. I mean, George Kittle, TJ, Noah Fant. I mean, there's all these guys that are superstars that came out of there, and I think it is going to be. I think there's high praise there, but especially when you watch this film, he has so many good traits, right? He's a prototypical big body tight end. The athleticism is great. You know, strong physical. He's smart. Can finish blocks. At times, he just definitely needs to be a little bit more consistent in the blocking scheme. And he's not the fastest. And I think he kind of has that George Kittle. He reminds me of George Kittle when I watch him, but he doesn't have all the traits that Kittle immediately possessed coming out of college. So I can definitely see him getting to that level. I think he had decent production as well. You know, 648 yards on the ground or receiving with 1 touchdown. So he was also 3rd in targets, by the way, with 90 targets amongst tight ends. He was first. He was tied first. Sorry, he was 4th in first downs amongst tight ends. It's a bit confusing. And then he was also 4th in receptions amongst tight ends in college as well, which I thought was really, really amazing. He's a guy that gets to work. He's not going to be your Travis Kelce's. You know, he's not going to be a Mark Andrews that gets all these crazy targets. But I think if he gets that workload in college, he takes a step down. Maybe he can be and finish around that. You know, if we're projecting his ceiling, maybe that 5 to 10 area if he really gets to that level. So I guess that's where I'm hoping, I'm believing he can get to. Finds space really well. He always has that one step separation with some guys, and he's really, really dangerous in space once he's in there. He did struggle with some drops at times, but I think that is something he can kind of work into in being a little bit better going into the NFL. So he's currently projected to be a third round draft. He currently has a third round draft capital, which I think that's pretty fair. I think, third round, maybe early fourth, depending on where this goes. But I mean, with the history of Iowa and where these guys have been coming from, maybe once again, another extra eye on him and how he performs and where he's going to go. Because once again, the history that is tied in you. A lot of people say that. So I really, really like that thought process. And like I said earlier, I do believe he does have that ceiling for me of the George Kittle. It's not going to be an instant thing. It's not going to be something that he is going to immediately walk into, but I think the ceiling is there. And the floor is kind of what Daniel Bellinger did this year. Nothing too crazy, but it's more of the sense of like, okay, we saw how Daniel Bellinger came in. And then you kind of see that upside, and I can see that thought process going in. So I do project him to be the tight end one in any team. Wherever he goes, I really hope he does land in a good spot. So he's currently going in our rookie mock draft, probably because I've been taking him this early. So he's probably going early third round, but without the draft capital. After the rookie mock drafts, I think he could go around that area. I think he really should be going in the fourth, if that makes any sense. So without me taking him, I think he does land in the fourth. With me taking him, he goes in the third. With the draft capital, I think he can get into the late second, maybe even early third. Basically, that's what I'm saying, right? So I can definitely see him taking that next step as well, going into year 2 when he does get drafted. Once again, not going to come in right out the gates, going straight into a work and learning process, and then year 2 taking that big next step. So my best team fit for Sam Laporta, for me, is Los Angeles Chargers. Round 3, pick 86. There's a team that needs young weapons. Keenan Allen, Joe Everett, Mike Williams, all these older guys. And Joe Everett does have one more year. He can either get cut or he could stay on this team, and Sam Laporta is right behind him. And then after next year, Joe Everett is a free agent, and then Sam Laporta takes the next step up. Joe Everett currently is 29 years old, and I really, really like that thought process. Other team fits, the Texans, the Packers, the Saints, all these teams do need a tight end, a guy that can come in and be a role player and a game changer for your team. So I really like Sam Laporta. Keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on him in NFL combines as well. I think he could be a really good steal, kind of what maybe Daniel Bellinger was. Maybe in these late fourth rounds, mid fourth rounds. I really like that thought process.
All right, I'm going to go to another tight end and one of my favorite tight end sleepers in this year's class, which if you guys have been around the Senior Bowl, you probably know this name by now. How about Luke Musgrave? My tight end 3 in the class. I'm right behind Dalton Kincaid. It's very close between the two. Luke Musgrave, former 3-star recruit out of high school, played defensive end, wide receiver, and tight end in high school. Multi-sport athlete, football, lacrosse, ski. Ski raced, little track. NFL bloodline, his uncle, Bill Musgrave. I believe he was an offensive coordinator for some NFL teams. I think it was the Broncos. And Bill also played quarterback in the NFL from 91 to 98. So he has that blood, that NFL blood in him. Yeah. Right now he's projected to be a late first, early second pick in the NFL draft. Right. And honestly, I'm not surprised by that at all. I think that holds up really well. Maybe this is a player that the NFL likes and the Dynasty community needs to catch up a little bit too. And that's why I'm here to bring him. And maybe by the time we're actually doing rookie drafts, he's no longer a steal or no longer available in these third rounds. But I'm just bringing based off of today's ADP. Let's talk about Musgrave a little bit. The pros that stand out, speed at the tight end position specifically. Now, it's difficult as a scout to watch wide receiver speed and then pop on tight end film. Like, it's a little bit different. But for sure, for the tight end position, he does have that above average speed. We talked about that before. How do you go from average, above average to elite? Yeah. Because we don't want to just use the word elite too much. I would put him in that above average category. Yes. Right below elite, maybe elite. But for the tight end position, for that position, he has incredible speed. In fact, he clocked in over 20 miles per hour at the Senior Bowl just a couple weeks ago. The size is ridiculous. Massive, huge hands, built like a Greek god. Plays through contact really well on his routes in the open field. I mean, he can easily bounce off that tackles and defenders. I think those are the two things about his game that he really succeeds in: speed and size. I mean, he's got ridiculous. Like, if you were to go into a lab and build a tight end, this is probably the type of size you would prefer to have.
Yeah.
Also is going to be, in my opinion, a huge red zone threat in the NFL. Really good versatility. In 2022, he played 38.3% in the slot. Like to see that. Played 10% out wide, and then 51.7 in line. So he is a tight end that you can kind of move all over the field. Now, there are some cons. Not the most consistent blocker. Has the body to be an impact blocker in line, but needs to develop in that area. Not exactly the most elusive player either. And that's where I find I put Kincaid a little higher. Kincaid as a route runner, the suddenness in the open field, the twitchiness, Kincaid has much more of that, which we don't see with Luke Musgrave. And as far as a route runner as well, I would say the same thing. Not necessarily a bad route runner,
right,
Musgrave, but just extremely inexperienced and unpolished in that area and can definitely develop. And lastly, there's a lot of inconclusive analytics, unfortunately. He had the COVID season. Then last year, he only played 2 games due to injury. So a lot of those analytics that you like to kind of pair with film are slightly inconclusive. But he was set to be one of the highest producing tight ends this year.
Yeah.
In the first 2 games he played, he put up 11 receptions on 15 targets for 169 yards and a touchdown. If you extrapolate that, and again, it's just what he was on track for, but if you extrapolate that to a 12-game season, he's looking at 66 receptions for 90 targets, over 1,000 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. That would put him right there with the top producers in this year's class. The point I'm trying to make here is he was supposed to be the feature weapon at Oregon State this year. And, first 2 games, you could see that kind of coming to fruition. But Luke is the type of player who wins with size and speed. He wins vertically down the field, and I think he can develop into being a very special tight end. When I look at comps for him, my ceiling, I'm looking at like a Jared Cook, which I saw PFF had that comp, and I thought it was very good. Think of Jared Cook with the Raiders, how he was a very good fantasy producer at one point.
Yeah.
How about Tyler Higbee? I can see a little Tyler Higbee in his game. My floor for him is Robert Tonyan. Robert Tonyan, this, really athletic guy, great size, but just it never worked out. So that's also a possibility for a guy like Luke. And I project him to be a developmental tight end 1. So I'm not so certain that he steps into a team day 1 and just produces just because he's just this freak athlete. I think it's going to take some time for him to develop into that tight end 1. But his ceiling is really through the roof with his size, his speed, his frame. I mean, he can be one of those top 5 to 6 tight ends in a couple of years from now. So if you look at rookie mocks, I'm projecting him after draft capital to be a late 2nd, early 3rd, mid 3rd type pick. I think that's a possibility in rookie mock drafts. And again, not someone who's going to produce year 1, but the upside is just ridiculous. It's through the roof. If he can figure out how to separate a little bit better, this could be a very, very dangerous tight end in the NFL. If he can just improve the little nuances of his route running, get a better release off the line of scrimmage, find ways to create separation more consistently, this could be a really dangerous offensive weapon. And when I look at team fits, I talked about Robert Tonyan a little bit earlier. He's a free agent. Why don't we put Luke Musgrave on the Packers? Round 2, pick 46. I don't think he's going to go much later than that. Tunyan's a free agent, and we kind of know who Tonyan is at this point, right?
Right.
Just a guy, let's be honest. Whether Aaron Rodgers is coming back or we're rocking with Jordan Love, we could use a real upgrade at the tight end position. I think Luke Musgrave would be that for this team. And imagine Luke Musgrave and Christian Watson on the same team, and you're trying to figure out what guys can match up with that kind of size. I mean, that would be one hell of a combination when it comes to freaky athletic type of receiving options for your team. So I like Luke. I think he makes a lot of sense. I could see him to the Jags to replace Evan Ingram. I could see him to the Texans to provide another receiving option there. To the Panthers, they need a tight end. So Luke Musgrave to me is someone that I think just want to start to put some more respect on his name.
Yeah, no, we like Luke, like what he can do. I mean, he's my tight end 3 up there. So I'm very interested to see where he goes in the Senior Bowl. Had really good praise at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, it was one of the standouts there, and it was cool to see. You like the player, and he gets the praise. We don't want to make huge adjustments because of the Senior Bowl, but it's cool to see that you like the player and he performs well. That's great to see.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of guys out there in the Senior Bowl, and my next guy was at the Senior Bowl as well, and that's Jayden Reed. Let me talk to you about Jayden, right? Michigan State, 6 foot, 185 pounds, 23 years old, 3-star recruit. He originally committed to Western Michigan, but then transferred to Michigan State in 2019. That was a little fun fact. But another guy, just based off of, whether it's Twitter, whether it's the reports, whether whoever it was, did get some Senior Bowl hype as well. So definitely a guy I wanted to put on your guys' radar if you didn't know who he was. He could, and he has already risen his stock, right? Right now, he's currently projected to go in the 5th round in the NFL draft capital. I think that's going to be not a lot higher. I would say at least a round higher here, but some really, really good traits, some decent traits. Not a guy that I truly think that is going to take the next step, but he could definitely be a disruptor in the NFL. Great release off the line, really quick twitchiness, really good in short areas. He's a versatile player. He can play special teams. He can be out in the backfield. He can be out wide. He can be in the slot. He can do all those types of things, and he's a decent separator as well once he is in space. The con is that he's 23 years old. He's going to be a 23-year-old wide receiver. He also has that smaller frame as well. So I wonder how NFL is going to be looking at him. And then he also had a lot of drop problems in college. And I think that is something that, with all those cons, it's going to be really hard for maybe a team to invest, being 23, a smaller body, and drop issues. Now, once again, the Senior Bowl helped him in that area. He kind of brought it in with the drops, the smaller frame. He was getting the separation. He was probably one of the most, I want to say not the most, but probably the top 3, top 4 guys in explosiveness at the Senior Bowl. Do I agree with that? Probably not, but I'm just saying that's what people are saying. Okay. So once again, projected NFL 5th rounder. I think he does go a little bit higher now with his Senior Bowl and potentially how he performs in the NFL Combine. Maybe he can squeeze into the 4th. Maybe he can squeeze into the early 4th, but we have to wait and see. Not the best projections for me when I first saw him. Wasn't a guy that I really loved. I thought, maybe second half of his career, Randall Cobb. And when I say maybe like a 26-year-old, 27-year-old Randall Cobb, which wasn't bad, right? And then you have the floor, which is he could just be another guy, and that's Scotty Miller. Just another guy on a team that just so happened to play with Tom Brady, right? Just got that lucky. So definitely a wide receiver 3, hopefully could take this step into the wide receiver 2 role. And once again, in the NFL in the NFL your rookie drafts, he's been sneaking into the 3rd. But in my opinion, I think he'll be more of a mid to late, early 4th. So that feels really comfortable to me. And once again, a guy that's not going to produce in year 1, maybe not even year 2, is going to take a little bit of time. This is definitely more of a taxi guy in my eyes. But once again, want to bring him to you guys to understand who Jayden Reed is. So my best team fit for him is the Panthers, actually. This team does need some weapons. Maybe they invest in a wide receiver in the 4th round, which I have him projected 4th round to 115 pick. All they have is DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall. Maybe they do get CJ Stroud. Maybe they do get, Will Levis, and they kind of build from there. Other team fits, the Raiders. Maybe he kind of takes over the Hunter Renfrow role. The Falcons, he can be a good guy in the slot with Kenny Drake and Kyle Pitts. The Colts can be in the slot in between Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce. The Titans also need a good slot guy. You have Treylon Burks. Maybe they do get another wide receiver in the 1st or 2nd round, and then they get Jayden Reed here in the 4th. Once again, a guy, a slot role guy, not someone that's going to take off in the first year or 2, but a guy that can be on your taxi squad or your taxi seat and to say, hey, he's developing. Okay, maybe it's time to make a move with Jalen Reed. So a guy that I like, I want to put on you guys' radar. And hopefully, with the Senior Bowl hype, maybe the NFL Combine, he can get his draft stock rising.
Yeah, Jalen Reed is definitely intriguing. Some of these players that we like Puka, Jaden, Laporta, Musgrave. I mean, we'll have to rely more on the NFL's evaluation of them than anything. So we'll have to wait and see. But definitely names that we want to put on your radar.
Yeah.
But why don't you guys comment down below? Who are some sleepers, some steals that you are wanting to draft in the 2023 rookie class? Like the video to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content, and we'll see you in the next one. All love.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.